then than you do now. Note the emphasis on the word no. And that you may want your money back, no questions asked. Contrary to, say, a course on biology or physics, in which the data and thesis can be empirically tested and verified, and therefore progress in knowledge can be measured and quantified, the person speaking about eschatology cannot appeal to empirical data in defense of what is being said. For example, when discussing about dying, heaven and hell, I can't say, "Trust me, been there, done that." There is therefore a basic methodological question about whether we know the last things, and if so, how do we talk about them? Obviously, thanks to modern medicine, we do know something about dying as a physiological act. Of this, we can therefore speak with a measure of certainty. But of the meaning of death, and above all of what occurs after death, we do not and cannot have factual information at our disposal. As a consequence, our language about them cannot be that of a scientific description or a journalistic report. Rather, as will be seen throughout our lectures, the language about the last things borders on metaphor, poetry, and analogy. The purpose is not to impart new information on the afterlife derived from sacred books or a revelation, but to arouse human hope about the future so that, driven and energized by that hope, we can work towards a better world for all humanity and even the cosmos itself. Of the three theological virtues, that is, faith, hope, and charity, it is hope that lies at the heart of eschatology. There is no doubt, however, that this kind of poetic and hope-filled language is liable to the charge that Christian eschatology weaves a fairy tale, or worse, to paraphrase Karl Marx, concocts an opium to lull the oppressed mass into a docile acceptance of their fate as God's will, and into waiting for their rewards in heaven that will never come. It is therefore necessary, right at the start, to deal with the nature of eschatological knowledge and to examine the method by which we claim to know about the afterlife, and the kind of language that must be used to speak about it. This will be the theme of our first lecture. The remaining 11 lectures discuss the realities often asked about when dealing with the afterlife. I beg for the listeners' forbearance during the first lecture, which sounds remote from the information they seek about what happens after death. Despite its seeming abstractness, however, what will be said here is of extreme importance, as most misunderstandings of the afterlife arise from mistaking the imaginative language of eschatology for a factual description of what happens after death. Before I begin, I would like to make 4 preliminary observations. First, the titles of the lectures are phrased as questions, deliberately so, to highlight the tentative nature of the reflections presented and to invite further explorations. Second, the perspective from which I reflect on the afterlife is Christian, and more specifically Roman Catholic. But I am speaking neither in the name of nor for the Catholic Church. I am not entitled, nor am I inclined to do so. If you just want to know the teaching of the Catholic Church about the last things, you can consult the 1994 Catechism of the Catholic Church, paragraphs 988 to 1050. And if you are in a hurry, you can peruse the summary in paragraph 1051 to 1060.